Good morning. Denzel Bentley gave an interview with Boxing Scene today. If you go and have a look up there now, and he's been sparring with Conor Benn ahead of Conor Benn's fight with Chris Eubank. And he was obviously asked. I always feel a bit sorry for these fighters because they must know they're only speaking to me because I'm sparring this guy. But nonetheless, so he said a lot about Conor Benn and where he is now physically and in preparation for the Eubank fight. And he said, first of all, he was asked how their spars went, and he said the spars were definitely competitive and he definitely held his own. And then they obviously pushed him on his punching power and stuff like that. And he said he's got enough power to make Chris Eubank think that he can't be reckless. Chris Eubank can't take liberties because he's got enough power to make Eubank think, I can't do that and get away with it. He was asked how he compared in punch power to other middleweights. And he said, obviously, a natural middleweight is just bigger in every department than Conor Benn. But he said, because of Conor Benn's ferocity and the speed in which he punches at, and he throws every punch with bad intentions, as Mike used to say, that kind of bridges the gap on, while a natural middleweight probably doesn't have to try so hard with his punches to generate that sort of power, because Conor Benn's punches with such ferocity and such speed, that kind of balances it out, and there's not much the same. He said that they're probably less stunning, but they kind of hit as hard because he throws with such speed and such ferocity. He went on to say that he spent time in Spain, I think it is, with Conor Benn, and he said his training regimen is absolutely fucking amazing. He said his sort of attitude to training, now I've been there and seen it, he trains like a madman, essentially. He also went on to say that he was asked if Conor Benn, what Denzel's thoughts were on Conor Benn in terms of sort of how he would live at world level, because he's not been anywhere near it. The nearest he's been is Chris Algieri, and a very much favourite Chris Algieri. But he said he's got no doubts that at welterweight he would hold his own at welterweight at the top level, at the elite level. That's only Denzel Bentley's opinion, but you know, fighters are usually a good gauge of other fighters. He made an interesting comment which Joe Stunner touched on, and it's very, very true. Joe Stunner made the remark that, and I think it was a video today or yesterday, that in terms of the weight, because Conor Benn hasn't made welterweight for 2 years, he's essentially not moving up from welterweight for this fight. He's kind of had 2 years naturally growing a bit bigger than, had he been still active now at welterweight, unless he boxed like 3 or 4 months ago at welterweight, and now he's, you know, trying to bridge that gap over a 3 or 4 month period. But as he hasn't boxed in 2 years at welterweight, he's kind of put on the size and the weight naturally. And he said, he even said that he doubts that Conor Benn will ever go down to welterweight, because after seeing him and seeing how much of the natural tissue he's put on, he doubts whether he can make welterweight ever again. And I know everyone's going to say, point to the PED things. I'd be very surprised if Conor Benn hadn't been down that route, and we still don't know yet categorically. We haven't seen the proof. So, you know, we've touched on that many other times, so we won't go there again, but I'd be very surprised, really surprised, if there was anything untoward going on this time. But he said the amount of natural tissue he's put on and the amount of natural muscle he's put on, he finds it very doubtful that Conor Benn could go down to welterweight and compete at welterweight ever again. So quite interesting. That's a great point. The fact that he hasn't made welterweight in 2 years is kind of negated the fact that he's coming up from welterweight, really, because he hasn't been a welterweight for 2 years. He probably hasn't weighed around that. The closest he would have been to that would have been making weight for these last two fights, which were above welterweight. So we will see. But a very good interview. Boxing Scene. Go give it a look. Made a lot of interesting points.
Let's go tottering around the ring.